I have compiled the most interesting entries for the COD Zombies games, characters, and lore to create the ultimate Zombies iceberg. If you're unfamiliar with what an iceberg is, here's the rundown. So, on an image of an iceberg, a number of entries are placed on different levels or segments. Near the top of this image are all the more well-known things about the games, and as you go down the list, things become much more unknown and creepy. Anyway, I don't want to waste any more time, so let's get right into the video. Enjoy. So starting things off, we're going to talk about the radios hidden on many different maps that when activated by the player will play a recording, usually reciting lore and things that happened in the past. These radios can clarify theories or suspicions players had about the background of characters, maps, and even wonder weapons. Bus Route B. In the spawn room of the Black Ops 2 Zombies map Transit, there is a map showing the route that the bus present on the map takes. This route is labelled Bus Route A. However, also displayed on this map is a secondary route, appropriately named Bus Route B. This led many to speculate that there was a secret Easter egg in which the game would give the player access to this fabled Bus Route B. Unfortunately, Bus Route B has been disproven by the developers at Treyarch and nothing can be found in the game files hinting at its existence. Maybe when Treyarch makes Chronicles 2, we'll finally get this Bus Route B. Loose change under Pack-a-Punch. In Origins, it is possible to activate the loose change Easter egg by proning in front of the Pack-a-Punch machine. The generators do not need to be activated prior to doing this and the player is rewarded with 25 points. Normally this Easter egg only rewards the player for proning in front of perk machines, so I find it really interesting that Origins allows us to do it in front of the Pack-a-Punch. Ray gun every time. Shortly after the release of Black Ops 1 and 2, people would post video clips on YouTube claiming to have found a process to, quote, get the ray gun every time. This process would usually consist of random steps, such as shooting specific places and or teabagging on the spot while doing a little spin as you purchase the box. These were obviously trolls, but many people, admittedly myself, were fooled by these goofy classics. Peter McCain's corpse. Peter McCain was a spy working under the Office of Strategic Services to infiltrate Group 935's Derice facility. He was then transferred to the asylum after 2 months working at Derice. A Marine team was sent to retrieve Peter due to this relocation, and a day later McCain was outed as a spy and captured by Group 935. Soon after his capture, a zombie outbreak occurred in the asylum and Peter used this as an opportunity to escape, but in the process suffered the loss of his left forearm. 3 days later, the Marines arrived at the asylum to find that it was overrun by zombies. McCain was then transmitted and ordered to rendezvous at the Rising Sun facility. It took him a month to arrive at the site and was shortly killed after arrival. His corpse can be found hanging in the starting room of Shino Numa, clearly missing his left forearm. Samantha owns the Hellhounds. Radios found around the map Derice suggest that Samantha Maxis, the daughter of Dr. Maxis, owned a puppy named Fluffy. Through 2 radio transmissions, it's clear that both Dr. Richtofen and Dr. Maxis used Fluffy as the subject for teleportation tests. Samantha walked into the room and discovered that her father and Edward were experimenting on Fluffy, so in desperation she ran for her dog. Maxis follows and Edward enacts his plan for revenge, and uses the teleporter on all 3. The dog was pregnant at the time, so she and her puppies reappeared at the mainframe as Hellhounds, so ultimately Samantha is the owner of all Hellhounds. Nikolai Belinksy. During the original stylized trailer for Origins, Nikolai's last name was mistakenly written as Belinksy instead of Belinsky. This was quickly changed after the release of the trailer to use the correct spelling. If anyone can find the original version of the trailer, please link it down below because I had no luck finding it. Keep in mind that this isn't the last time that Treyarch would make a mistake in a trailer like this. Ammo-matic. Shino Numa was supposed to introduce a new perk machine called Ammo-matic, which was supposed to give the player that purchases it a max ammo. There are small audio clips in the game files that are related to this perk. Ultimately, this was cut before the map's release for an unknown reason. Maybe the devs thought it would make the max ammo power-up obsolete, or make the game mode way too easy, but this is all speculation. Bleed out faster while crawling. During the early years of COD Zombies' life cycle, there was a very misunderstood myth spreading around like wildfire. This was that when a player is downed, they will bleed out faster if they crawl, and should instead stay still waiting to be revived. This was very quickly and easily debunked because there is no measurable difference between bleed out time while staying still and crawling. Kino was DLC 4. It is pretty well known at this point that Black Ops 1's Kino der Toten was supposed to release as the 4th and final DLC map for World at War. However, with the release of Modern Warfare 2 around the corner, Treyarch decided to save it for Black Ops 1. This is why Black Ops 1 was released with 2 starting maps instead of 1. The Iron Kite. Initially when Der Eisendrache, or in English The Iron Dragon, was revealed, the map was announced as Der Eisendrachen, which directly translates to The Iron Kite. This was swiftly changed, however there's still remnants of this typo in-game, notably on the posters around the gondola station. There you go, there's the second typo in a Treyarch trailer. I'm pretty sure that is the last one. The Wonderwaffe breaks space-time. Between the events of Derice and Kino, the Ultimus crew travelled forward in time due to Richtofen using the Wonderwaffe to overload the teleporters in the Derice facility. This sent them just over 2 decades into the future, where they arrived in an old Nazi theatre. Portraits. There are portraits in the mule kick room in Kino. Interacting with each of these portraits will play unique dialogue depending on which character the player is.
This is a picture of a great warrior.
Oh, a little bundle of badass.
I hate you, Takeo.
Oh, it's a picture of the monkey bomb.
Where things get especially interesting is with this blank portrait, but we'll talk about that deeper into the Iceberg. Maxis' wife is dead. Radios found around the Black Ops 1 map Moon suggest that Maxis' unnamed wife is deceased.
I am truly sorry that you were put through so much. When your mother died, I could not bear the thought of losing you, too. That's why I kept you so close.
Her time and reason for death is left unknown, but it's likely that it had something to do with the war. Richtofen is gay. Richtofen has many quotes that are directed to the other characters in the game. Many of these quotes seem to make Richtofen come off as gay. Here are some examples of the quotes I'm talking about.
The thunder gun. If I had designed this, it would have sucked and not blown. Oh! How is this so sticky? Not that I mind sticky. It's a little gun, but it has a long barrel, like my college roommate.
It's very likely that the devs were just having fun with some early 2010 humor, but who knows, maybe Richtofen is a closeted Nazi or something. Elemental Knife and Origins. In the Black Ops 2 version of Origins, there was a way to glitch out your knife such that it could kill zombies all the way up until the mid-40s in one hit. This was done by completing the Fist of Iron step of the Easter egg, and also obtaining one of the 4 elemental staves. Once this has been done, the player must go down in one of the 3 giants and bleed out. After the player respawns, they will receive a knife with the powers of the staff they had before they died. For a long time, many believed that this was an intentional feature of the map, but it was later confirmed by Treyarch to be just an overlooked bug. Black Ops 1 remakes are direct ports. Looking at the game files for the returning World at War maps for Black Ops 1 shows us that the maps are directly ported over. While this is true, Treyarch didn't just port it over and call it a day. They fixed many bugs and issues from the original World at War versions, such as the Wonderwaffe stealing the player's Juggernog. Trench gun glitch Black Ops 1. So although the remade maps fixed some issues, new problems were somehow created. One of these bugs would make it so that if someone in your game was using the trench gun, the audio would glitch out, and it would sound like it is being fired right next to you regardless how far away the other player is. So if you want to troll your mate, just pick up the trench gun and start shooting it on the other side of the map. They should be confused. Meat. Meat is a cut game mode from Black Ops 2 Zombies. The rules of this mode is as follows. 2 teams must face off against each other and the undead. The zombies are attracted to the team with the meat. Survive as long as you can by throwing the meat to the opponent's side. It's unclear why this game mode was cut, but it may be due to gameplay similarities to Grief, so one mode would have made the other one redundant. Ultimus Nikolai killed his wives. Nikolai has many quotes suggesting that he murdered his wives. In fact, of his 9 wives, he has mentioned killing 5 of them. He has stated that he killed his first wife with a shotgun, the second was also shot but the weapon was unclear, his third wife was stabbed through the skull with a sickle, and the 4th wife was chased down and beaten to death with his bare hands. And finally, the 5th wife was axed to death. If you like Nikolai and this ruined his character for you, don't worry, because the official timeline scrubbed his case clean by confirming that all of his wives were in fact fabricated as a coping mechanism for losing his one true wife whom he loved. The Doctor wants the ultimate power bastard. After the release of Shi no Numa, Treyarch created bios for each of the playable characters. These tell you about their basic personality and history, and are a fun little read. But if you're a little bit more observant, you'll notice that if you take the first letter of each sentence and string that into a new sentence, you'll be left with "The Doctor wants the ultimate power bastard," which foreshadows Richtofen's true intentions all the way into the future on Moon, where he switches souls with Samantha and becomes the one in control of the undead, thus claiming the ultimate power. Richtofen Head. Richtofen's severed head was to be a unique power-up exclusive to the Grief game mode in Mob of the Dead. The head would be picked up by the player and a fully animated talking zombie Richtofen head would speak to you. This head would practically work identically to the aforementioned meat, so where zombies would be attracted to whoever had the head attached to them. This power-up was ultimately cut very late into development, evident by the fully realized animations and voice lines made by the head. Eye colors indicate who's in control. After completing the cryogenic slumber party Easter egg on the Black Ops 1 map Moon, Richtofen usurps control from Samantha and all the zombies' eyes go from glowing yellow to glowing blue, which led players to assume that the eye colors of the zombies changed depending on who was in control. However, things became extremely confusing later on. For example, in the Black Ops 2 map Mob of the Dead, zombies had red eyes. Many at the time speculated that this was the devil controlling the zombies, but more recently the accepted idea is that it was in fact Brutus being led by the Shadow Man. Since then, we've have had many different eye colors, including orange that was being controlled by Dr. Maxis, white being controlled by the Avogadro on Alpha Omega, and purple being controlled by the Forsaken in Cold War. Wonderwolf on 5. The Wonderwolf was originally set to make another appearance in the Black Ops 1 map 5. This is evident because there are cut character audio clips in the game files reacting to getting it out of the box and killing zombies with it. Unfortunately, the weapon was replaced with a much inferior, way shittier, awful weapon, Winter's Howl. This was probably due to lore reasons because there's no way for the Wonderwolf to be in 5, considering we know that it was in Richthofen's possession up until the events of Call of the Dead. Chainsaw in Black Ops 1. The saber-toothed chainsaw is a cut melee weapon that was supposed to make its debut in Black Ops 1. All that is known about the weapon is what was left behind in the game files, things like an untextured model, stats, and animations. Presumably the weapon was going to fire for as long as the player held down the attack button, and any zombies in range would be damaged continuously. It would have been nice to have such a unique weapon added to the game mode, considering that Black Ops 1 has really boring weapons. Secret room under Pack-a-Punch. Underneath the Pack-a-Punch on the Black Ops 3 map Shadows of Evil, there is an unused room that can only be reached if the player is in beast mode. The room is empty and it's unclear what it was meant to be used for, but maybe it was intended to be an alternative way to open the Pack-a-Punch using the beast mode. Elemental Flopper in Origins. In the Black Ops 2 version of Origins, if the player purchased PhD from the Wonder Fizz and has any of the 4 staves equipped, the explosion from dolphin diving will adopt the elemental effect from the staff. These explosions are extremely powerful and can consistently kill zombies well past round 60. It's unclear whether or not this is an intentional feature of the perk, however the effect was patched out of the game and then unpatched in a later update, so maybe it was initially unintentional but then the devs changed their minds about it or something. Brains. During the promotional trailer for Verrückt, a short clip is seen where we as the viewer are watching through the eyes of a zombie chasing the player. The zombie has both of its arms stretched out in front of it, which is a really unique sight in the game mode. But did you know that these zombie arms are a weapon that you can actually play with using the console command givezombie_melee? Upon equipping the weapon in game, it can be seen that the name of the arms is Brains. Just like many things on this iceberg, the original intention for this cut weapon is unclear, but it's not too outlandish to assume that it was from a potential cut game mode where players would actually play as the zombies and try and down the survivors. Luckily that idea eventually became a reality with the turned game mode in Black Ops 2. The Illuminati. There are many references to the Illuminati in the Eye of Providence throughout the Call of Duty games. In World at War, notably on Verrückt, Shinonuma, and Darice, many symbols relating to the Illuminati are scrawled on walls. In Black Ops 1, however, the references are much more on the nose, with monitors on 5 and Ascension clearly depicting the Eye of Providence and Richtofen mentioning the group by name on multiple occasions. It's clear that he used to be a member of the group, saying things like,
I have been recognized by the Illuminati!
The Doctor mentions them again in both Black Ops 3's The Giant and Gorod Krovi. Later on in Black Ops 4's Blood of the Dead, the Illuminati's lab is actually a part of the map as the spawn room. Paris instead of Moon. The final DLC of Black Ops 1 was supposed to introduce a map set in Paris. In fact, the console name for Moon is actually named Zombie_Paris. Interestingly, No Man's Land was going to be under the Eiffel Tower, and similarly, the player would have to fend off unlimited hordes of zombies until they teleported away to the main map. Paris was ultimately cut in favor of Moon due to Modern Warfare 3's marketing heavily featuring Paris, and Activision had Treyarch change it, but I think we got the cooler map out of the two, all things considered. Dempsey knows that he's in a game. Dempsey has many quotes that suggest that he understands that there is a player and that he himself is in a video game. Here are a couple of those quotes for reference.
Hey, player! Drop the chips and get me some ammo!
Another Easter egg. Ha! How do they do it?
I should get twice the points for that shot!
They span throughout the Treyarch games and maps, and it's likely that it was done as an attempt at light-hearted humor and probably doesn't have any actual lore implications. Knocking in the dressing room. On the Black Ops 1 map Kino der Toten, at this location, there is a barrier with green light shining from it. If the player approaches this barrier, loud knocking will begin to be heard from one of the crates by the window. It's unclear who or what is supposed to be knocking, but something similar can be encountered on the Chronicles remaster of the map in Black Ops 3. If the player enters the room with the fire trap, a door can be seen on the left side of the room. The door is being knocked violently from the other side. This is linked to a mini Easter egg where the player is tasked with repeating the knocks at the blue door outside, next to the VMP wallby. Could this be the same being that was knocking back in Black Ops 1? One can only assume. Derice told the future. On the World at War map Derice, specifically in the room housing Teleporter C, there can be seen a billboard with images pinned to it. Upon closer inspection, one of the images show a lighthouse in the snow, another a Russian rocket, and finally the Eiffel Tower in Paris. This is a clear reference to the Black Ops 1 maps Call of the Dead, Ascension, and the cut Paris map that was later changed to Moon. It's very interesting to me how long before the release of Black Ops 1 that Treyarch's plan for DLC Zombies maps were. Zombies occurred after the campaign. There is an old but at the time popular theory that the events of Zombies occurred after the events of the corresponding game's campaign. The theory began as many early maps were shared with levels in the campaign. These include, but are not exclusive to, Narked taking elements from the level's Hard Landing and Airfield in World at War, Verrucht is clearly the level Rings of Steel, and Ascension is taken from the Black Ops 1 level Executive Order. However, as the storyline for Zombies progressed, it became apparent that this theory was not in fact correct, and instead Zombies is based in an alternate timeline to the campaign, but nevertheless it's still a very fun theory. Dempsey was one of the Marines in Verrucht. As mentioned earlier, a team of Marines was sent to extract Peter McCain from the Verrucht Asylum. These Marines were callsign Smokey, John callsign Banana, Paxton callsign Gunner Ridge, being led by Tank Dempsey. Of the 3 Marines under Dempsey's command, 2 of them were torn apart by zombies. Paxton managed to escape alive, and as for the Tank himself, he was captured after the events of Verrucht and sent to Dr. Richtofen. Griffin Station is visible from Derice. In World at War, on the map Derice, if the player looks at the skybox, the moon can be clearly seen. Where things get really cool is when you zoom into the moon. Lights in the shape of a pentagon can be seen, and for a long time many questioned what this light pattern was. With the release of Moon, the community connected the dots, and we now know that these lights are actually coming from Griffin Station 80 years before the events of Moon. The zombies remember their past. It shouldn't take a player too long to notice the zombies' occasional uncanny behavior. In maps that include Nazi zombies, the player may witness the zombies marching like Nazis. The average player may shrug this off as a coincidence, and I really can't blame them. Marching is something that a zombie can realistically do. But things become especially abnormal when looking at the zombies in Shin Onuma. They walk very distinctively, with their left arm in front of them and their hand open with their palm facing away, almost as if they still retain a fragment of their past. This phenomenon continues into the Black Ops 1 map Ascension, where in a Russian cosmodrome, zombified Spetsnaz operatives are seen in their uniform, rolling and dodging out of the way of bullets. Could it be so tightly woven into the brains of these people such that they do these actions from muscle memory alone? The only answers we have to this question are more questions. Maxis' betrayal was foreshadowed. On the Black Ops 2 map Transit, a radio can be found that foreshadows Maxis' betrayal.
Voice! Come in, unidentified electronic voice! We've been attempting to activate your spire as instructed, but one of our members began hearing the other voice you warned us about. He turned on the rest of us and shot one member of our crew and wounded another before we restrained him.
It seems as though Maxis had attempted his plan for revenge once before, coercing another group of survivors into activating the spire. However, similar to the Victor's crew, one of the survivors can hear the other voice and turns on the rest of the group. The survivor that turned on the group is clearly in reference to Samuel Stullinger, and how he hears Richtofen's voice in his head. Every player is trapped in their own universe. On the Black Ops 1 map Kino der Toten, after teleporting into the Pack-a-Punch room above the theater, a clock can be seen ticking down, indicating how much time is left before teleporting back to spawn. However, oddly, the time the clock portrays is different for each player, which sparked the idea that every player is locked in their own purgatory-like universe. Call of the Dead crew died of hypothermia. A radio found in the Shangri-La area of the Black Ops 3 map Revelations mentions the Call of the Dead movie crew. The narrator Sally states that,
"It's been 6 weeks since the rest of the Call of the Dead casting crew went missing. Hollywood's lost its fucking mind with this story. An entire production vanishes? Crazy talk. I told you, this is why you don't shoot in Siberia."
This confirms the suspicion that the Call of the Dead crew did not make it out of Siberia and had likely succumbed to hypothermia. Points are 115. It's a very common question that is asked not long after playing the game mode. What are points? Where do they come from? Is it the souls of the zombies? Is it blood? Is it literal cash? Well, for a very long time people accepted that points are probably just element 115. The reason for this assumption is its supernatural nature, being able to magically unlock doors, pull random weapons out of seemingly empty boxes, and even pull guns straight out of walls. Years later, an official answer has been made. Points are essence, which doesn't answer anything, and if you ask me, I would say that there is no answer and it's just a currency to make the game, well, a game. Samantha was visited by keepers in Der Eisendrache. On the Black Ops 3 map Der Eisendrache, there are alarming crude drawings in Samantha's room, near the first dragon head. The drawings seem to portray Samantha in bed with an ancient figure watching her from the end of her bed. There is no mistaking that the figure is an Apothicon keeper, and that this must be a recreation of real events, as there is too much resemblance to be a coincidence. The only question is, when did this occur? Die Glocke. Die Glocke is a theoretical miracle weapon, or Wunderwaffe, conspired to have been in development during the Second World War by Nazi scientific researchers. The rumor goes that there was an occult that were attempting to develop miracle technologies that would push the boundaries of humanity. These technologies include anti-gravity, teleportation, free energy, and mind control. This conspiracy has been a clear and massive inspiration to the fictional group 935 and the story of Call of Duty Zombies as a whole. Denizens live in Nacht. On the Call of Duty mobile version of Nacht der Untoten, denizens appear on the map. They look and act the same as they did on Transit in Black Ops 2, jumping on the player's head and slowing them down. Where things get interesting is when you remember that Nacht was in Transit as well, which implies to a degree that the denizens are harboring in Nacht. Shangri-La is on Mars. There was an old and popular theory that the Black Ops 1 map Shangri-La was actually situated on the planet Mars. I believe that this theory started due to one of the textures in the game files having the name GP_ZTEM_Mars_Vista_card. Many people criticized this idea as it had no real basis outside of this curious texture file, and the theory was debated for almost 8 years until the Black Ops 4 map Tag der Toten was released with a secret Easter egg, where the player is flung into a mysterious iceberg with an underwater tunnel that leads to a massive body of flat water, with Mars in the background, teasing the old idea that Shang is on Mars. The monkey bomb is sentient. The monkey bomb was first introduced on the World at War map Der Riese, and it's the first real wonder grenade brought into the game mode. And as is becoming a pattern in this iceberg, things are becoming more uncanny than they first appear. When throwing the monkey bomb, it bounces a couple times before beginning its song, and with each bounce the monkey grunts and yells in pain. Where things get pretty horrifying is what happens when you throw the monkey into fire. It's possible that Richthofen made the toy in such a way to give the illusion of sentience, or maybe, just maybe, it's actually alive. The teleporters cause insanity. I wasn't 100% certain what this entry was referring to, however I have a clue. During pretty much all teleportation animations, flashing images of symbols and zombies are seen rushing past and towards the screen, which is a sign that the teleporter is having an adverse effect on the mind of the user. But I can't say for certain that it causes insanity, but I wouldn't be too surprised, I'm gonna be honest. Der Riese was a real facility. The World at War map Der Riese is based on a real-life German research facility in Poland, also called Der Riese. Disappointingly, the real facility was just an underground factory for producing weapons and armaments, and not a supernatural base keen on controlling the undead and teleporting soldiers. The base was built into the Alm Mountains, and the Germans used forced laborers, including POWs, to carve out the facility. 2 months later, a typhus epidemic broke out among the prisoners, and many of them lost their lives. Peter McCain corrupts your game. Remember that hanging corpse on Shino Numa? Well, there is more to him that I think is even more interesting than mentioned previously. If the player knifes his corpse with just the right timing, the game screen will turn grey and the session will restart. Also, if the player manages to get his corpse to drop using explosives, and the player touches the corpse, there is a small chance that they will instantly die. Going as far to say that he corrupts your game is an over-exaggeration, but he can definitely ruin your game if you aren't careful. The Keepers are the occult. On the player model of all Apothicon Keepers in Black Ops 3 Zombies, a mysterious symbol can be found on their chests. This symbol bears a striking resemblance to the sigil belonging to the Nazi occult. Not much is known about the conspiracies behind this occultism, but it is interesting that this symbol was used for these beings. Maybe in the Zombies universe, the Nazis witnessed the Keepers and began idolizing them, adopting their symbol as their own. Wouldn't be the first time they adopted a symbol. Mob of the Dead was real. In the real Alcatraz prison, on an island off the coast of San Francisco, many prisoners had spoken stories of figures and beings watching them from dark corners in their cells. On one occasion, when an inmate was locked in the hole, he immediately began to scream that someone with glowing eyes was in there with him. Guards too had reported sightings of humanoid figures with glowing eyes walking the halls during the night, as well as women sobbing from within the prison walls. Takeo is linked to the Shadow Man. Remember those portraits I was talking about way back at the beginning of the Iceberg? Well, I'm finally about to reveal that interesting thing about the blank portrait. If the player is playing as Takeo, and they decide to interact with the blank portrait, Takeo says this:
Maybe what was is no more, but shall be again.
It seems as though Takeo is referring to the Shadow Man, being what was during the Great War and shall be again, linking to his arrival in Morgue City. To solidify this claim, I have a recording of a radio transmission found on The Giant.
My dreams are haunted by a man in shadow. vision may be a portent of our destruction.
Takeo is talking to the premise version of himself and mentions a man in shadow and how he may cause their destruction, very clearly referring to the Shadow Man. But this begs the question, why Takeo? And why does he have recurring visions and a somewhat sound understanding of this being? I've researched this for hours and I can't get a solid answer. Maybe one of you can tell me in the comments. Division 9 is Unit 731. Division 9 made its appearance in the Black Ops 3 map Zetsubo no Shima and is on the surface a Japanese research and development facility. But as you delve deeper, it becomes clear that this center was also used to house secret tests of biochemical weapons and spore pathogens on POWs. This facility is heavily inspired by the horrifying and very real Unit 731, a secure base in use during the Second World War that was used as a means to conduct twisted and vindictive tests on Chinese civilians captured during their invasion. Primary sources, including real interviews with researchers and officers that were present during that period, shared their accounts of what happened and what they witnessed, which were small and very unsanitary square concrete rooms with no windows, to perform a vivisection on the inmate. When asked why he did it, the researcher said, "I wanted to know what would happen." Other horrors conducted on these innocent people include allowing the spread of deadly disease, suffocation, freezing, burning, and other much more gut-wrenching tests that I probably shouldn't mention on YouTube. But if you really want to learn more, I'll share a link to the Wikipedia page on Unit 731 in the description. But I have to warn you, it has got to be the most messed up shit I've ever read in my entire life, so proceed with caution. Accounts say that over 400,000 prisoners were placed into this facility and not a single one of them made it out alive. cat.doris1.pick. In the main menu of Black Ops 1, the player can stand up by repeatedly pressing the spacebar on PC or the triggers on console. Once this has been achieved, they can then access the CIA terminal on the wall opposite the window Hudson is watching Mason from. If the player logs into Dreamland under the account vbush, they will be able to uncover a secret directory showing a list of codes to text files and image files. One of these image files is listed as doris1.pick. To access these files, the player must enter cat followed by the file name. The image this file holds is quite disturbing. It shows a grotesque version of the animal testing lab by Teleporter A in the map Doris, which is much darker and contains visible viscera on the walls and floors. There are images of other maps in the directory, including 5 in Kino der Toten. Well, that about wraps up this iceberg. God, this thing took me way longer than I expected. Sorry about that, but it's done, and I hope you all enjoyed it. My next video will be my attempt at the reverse rainbow challenge on BO2, because that just won my poll by a landslide. So make sure you stick around to witness my suffering. Thank you for all your support this far, and of course, thanks for watching.